Peace, peace. All right. Well, I'm here. I thought I would be at the school, but I'm not gonna be able to make it to the school. I'm gonna be here. Um, Still dealing with a very ill family member all year, so um, it keeps me stuck here. By the time I would get out to Mecca, it would be way too late. Not only for the students, I guess, but definitely for me. So I can't really do it. But it'll be another class here. I'm gonna be here until at least 6:30, so that way we can build and you can ask all your questions. You know what I mean? All right, so I'm gonna be. I had a lot of questions from the gun Malik. I don't think I was able to copy and paste them into my notes, but he really gave me some good ones though. But thank you, Jarrell. Peace to the God. You know, it's been tough. It's been a tough year, as you can see. You know, I'm never um not at the school like this. You know, so it's definitely something serious. For those that know, they know. You know what I'm saying? I just don't like broadcasting things out. You know what I'm saying? But for those that know me and all the students that build with me on the side, I definitely tell y'all and let you know and everything like that. But that's what's really keeping me from going to the school and stuff like that. You know. I just want to start off with some of these questions that the God gave because it's been a minute. I'll just go backwards. I may not be able to answer them in that order by going backwards in our builds on the text, but let's see what we got here. All right, this is interesting question. Um, for those that aren't, you know what I'm saying, are not on all of 120. For those that are not on all of 120, though, this question is still relevant and very useful. It's about the devil. The two degrees that talk about the devil is the second degree in the 1 to 10 student enrollment, and the 33rd degree in the 1 to 40. You know what I mean? Um, Let me ask these succession of questions though. See if they're all related. You know what I mean? But I answer them. I want to throw them out. The first one was what made Elijah Muhammad discern from a devil in the second degree in the 1 to 10, right? Who's the color man? Color man is a Caucasian white man, Yaku's grafted devil of the planet Earth. All right. What made Elijah? What made Elijah Muhammad discern from a devil? Wisdom degree in the 1 to 10, and real. This is what the question is. And real in 33rd degree in the 1 to 40. For those who don't have it, is what is a real devil? Any man which is made weak and wicked, or any live grafted germ from the original's devil. Okay. Any man which is made weak and wicked, or any live grafted germ from the original's devil. Um, okay, these other questions actually, I gotta ask Malik for a little discernment on this next question because I don't know how it goes here because he goes into the 34th degree. Can you reform devil? Right? No, all the prophets have tried to reform him, but they were unable to do so. They have agreed that it cannot be done unless they graft him back to the original, which takes 600 years. So instead of losing time grafting him back, they decided to take him off our planet, who numbers only 1 to every 11 original men. All right? So I think his question starts, can you reform devil? And in degree, he says them, right? I don't know what he means by them. I'm assuming that he might be asking me about which devil he's talking about, the 33rd degree or the second degree. And the truth is that they're all the same. I answered his question somewhat. I said both definitions are valid for devil. That's the devil that is the Caucasian white man, second degree, or any man which is made weak and wicked in 33rd degree. Both definitions are valid. So but it's the wickedness that's the absolute. Okay, it doesn't matter what you are. It matters your actions are what makes you a devil. Remember, in this case, a devil is only a devil if they do devilishment, right? Like, a writer is only a writer if he writes. An MC is only an MC if he MCs, right? A carpenter is only a carpenter if he does some carpenting. You know what I mean? So no matter what, in both instances, the devil has to do devilishment. You know what I mean? It's a little bit, not a little bit, it's a lot different argument than, let's say, the argument of uh, is the original man God just by his genetics, like he's born, he's the original man, right? I'm an original man. I don't have to do anything. I'm automatically the God. And then it says, no, you have to be, then I'm giving the ideas. I'm going to say what I think after. No, you have to have a knowledge of self and you have to be aware of who you are, right? And that's a totally different thing than the devil, but it's the same in many respects. Why? Because the depth the depth of knowledge of self is about awareness. You know what I mean? So there is an innate originality that makes one nearly always likely to be the true and living God, right? But there is the instances of devilishment done by black men, right? Of all shades, right? When I say black men, we're not talking about no FBA shit, nothing like that. I'm talking about the black man, the original black, brown, yellow seed, right? There's devils of all shades, black, brown, yellow, and white, right? So that means that on that respect, it has a similarity to this idea of what is a real devil. They have to do devilishment, right? So the God has to do righteousness. It's not necessarily the righteousness, though, in this case. It's the idea of the awareness of his innate righteous nature. You know what I mean? And if he is aware of that, then he is already the true and living God. So in that awareness is where you're going to see. And that's important. It's important, though. So it has to come to some kind of awareness, though. Now, as far as the devil, going back to that, to me, all of them is any man made weak and wicked. Any man, doesn't matter who it is, any man which is made weak and wicked. Now, if you could you destroy the seed, right? And this is why the 30th degree is so important, though. Let me go into my notes here. I had some notes on this. Let me see if these notes I wrote a long time ago are relevant. Okay, that isn't. Okay, no. Those notes I wrote there aren't. They're a little off topic here. Yeah, so those notes won't be relevant here, right? But in the 30th degree, it tells you, you know what I mean? It tells you about the things done to graft the original by separating the seeds. Right? I don't want to go. The notes were basically about the originality of all the seeds, right? Because remember, the original man is not made up of the black, right, germ, right? It's made out of both the black and the brown, right? In other words, all the original genes make up the original, okay, and that exists within you in the genetic reality of the original man, right? So when it's the weakness is caused when you separate them, right? That means that something has to be done to make it unnaturally separated, and that's the grafting process, right? An exaggerated, a dangerous breeding, right? In this case, that does it, right? So this is humanity, right? When we talk about the devil, the white man, this is humanity. This is a human, right? But he's been attacked. He has been attacked on the seed. You know what I mean? He's been grafted. right? So that makes him in a state of weakness. You see, that state of weakness keeps him what? More prone to what? Well, that weakness in real life, though, makes him more, it is more dangerous for him to survive, right? And like, let's compare it to animals and things like that, right? It makes him more prone to um, have difficulties in what? Survival. It also causes a host nature, right? It needs to leech off things, right? And this causes the entire reality of devilishment. If you try to put, I don't know if I have here, but to me, the majority of devilishment is just basically an exalted host. You know what I'm saying? Like, an exalted leech, where the host is usually what has all the energy, but the leech is seen to be seen as the one that has all the energy. You know what I mean? But it's really just a leech. It's really it is the host, the original people, that are really the ones that have all the energy. You know what I mean? But in leeching, in using the original people as a host, it brings down the reality, the surrounding reality of all people, to a state of survival. When humanity, on any level, any shade, is brought to a level of survival, then you have the chances of devilishment, right? Because that becomes the only thing. Um, the ability for sacrifice, like real sacrifice, like do without so others could do with, right? Becomes more rare and rare. You see, and that there is the real test of what devilishment is. And no matter what, though, that always has to do with the mind. And no matter what, that has to always do with the decision. See, it's only so the wisdom degree only gave a partial clue into the most likely shades that would be prone to devilishment. But in this world today, you see that we have to be aware of all the original. You know, I mentioned FBA. I've been going off on these things. They're important to me because I'm hip hop. I do all this hip hop stuff, right? But this type of division that the Foundational Black Americans organization has, though, is exactly what Yakub was doing. And more so, what Musa taught those devils to do carefully and strategically. And that's why it's a big deal. So when we talk about any man which is made weak and wicked, it becomes more important. Those who are dividing, those who are causing division, you know, and you know what I mean. But peace to God, King. King, formerly justice. He's like some prince shit, right? King. Just have a symbol, God. Like, you know what I mean? 793rd piece. If anybody here has any questions about anything, let me know. I've been consistent with every one of you online. It bothers me that I haven't been able to get a consistency at the school. That really does bother me. If it wasn't for Dark Kim, I'd be even more upset. A lot of people don't know that in the 2000s into the 2010s, and for a lot of the 2010s, I was really the only teacher that was at the school consistently. You know, so if I wasn't there, the school would be without class, regular class, and that was for many years. Um, that's a history that people don't really know about. You know what I mean? It's not really one we're going to be talking about either, right? But it is real. All right, let's go through these questions. All right, so he said, "Can you reform devil?" Well, let's talk about reform for a minute. I'm not clear about his question, but we'll talk about reforming. You know, I don't think it's anybody's job to try to reform someone that's doing massive devilishment. And that is just ridiculous. Um, Presenting the truth and to the best of your ability, where it doesn't sacrifice those who truly can use it to the best discernment that you have, then I find it okay to broadcast on all levels. Like, let's say, you know, in ways that don't always affect. Like, if I'm able to teach with my literature, my books, whatever it is, I can't really decide who gets it. So a lot of people do get it, right? Um, that doesn't mean that I specifically sought people that were doing devilishment. But as we see with my trolls and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of people that still watch it. All right. Yeah, so talk about when I talk about reforming, it's really this is more of a teaching question. Like who do you teach, who do you share with? And it's always a discernment. I say this a lot though. A lot of people with the knowledge don't really have experience teaching people that are not like them or that they don't really relate to. And that's because we teach in the neighborhoods and we draw up people that are willing to be like us or are like us. You know what I'm saying? Like people really relate to, people that we're cool with or that we become cool with. That is not my experience per se. Um, it would be a mixture of both. And because I've taught at the school so long, no, that overrides it. So I've learned to teach people that I don't relate to or didn't relate to. In other words, I learned from them as well. You know what I mean? And I become like them as well in the good things that they have and the ways that they have. You know what I mean? Um, and that's the blessing. That's the real blessing. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that, and this is a side note, but that I have learned more than my students have learned. Um, I'll probably get sound bit by a troll, but you know, it is what it is. Um, because I knew what I was looking for. I know what I'm learning and learning how to teach and learning from all that I'm sharing. And I just think that, you know what I'm saying? And unlike any of my students, I've attended my class the most. If that makes any kind of sense. Um, but as far as reforming means that someone was doing devilishment and you have to reform. You have to form them again. You have to reform, and that's why in the degree, when we look at the degree, it's very very real. You know, it says no, and I agree with that. Now, when we're talking about can you reform the devil? No, you cannot reform people. Now, if you take away devil from a noun into a verb, devilishment, you realize you can't reform people that are doing devilishment. You know what I'm saying? And that becomes their way. You know what I'm saying? What you can do, what you can do, and what's best to do is prioritize everyone that has a chance to learn something from you. When do you speak? How much do you speak? How much do you share? Always be discerning as sincerely as you can, because sometimes people take with this knowledge, they take teaching as we have to teach this knowledge. Like they have specific ideas in 120 that must be taught at certain situations. And that's not the way you become a useful teacher in this. This is life. And so what you do is you teach people things that they could use. You compose yourself civilized. You know what I'm saying? You know, when we go to you know, to the knowledge build degree that I love is really the order of teaching. And the duty of a civilized person to teach civilization, righteousness, the knowledge of himself, and the science of everything in life, right? Which is love, peace, and happiness, right? Those four things are in an order. And a lot of your life will be teaching civilization, making it aware of where we are, unmasking the reality of where we are, but also revealing civilization by your civilized way. And that a lot of people don't understand how effective a teaching is like that. The truth is that most of the people that have gotten this knowledge, though, have made that decision. Most of the people that have gotten this knowledge, they pretty much taught people around them. And when that was done, like that had a set birth record, um, they mainly focused on building themselves up, you know, for all the good and bad out of it, though, and the difficulties. That is not really my life either. You know what I'm saying? My life never really plateaued with the amount of people I taught. Um, it just kept going up and continues to go up. So that's not really something that I can relate to. You know what I mean? So in that reality, I end up having to continually discern what is best for a certain student. Um, I think in my years, I've been able to tell. I never say this though, but if someone asks me if a student will be back in a classroom, I can tell you if he'll be back after that one session. I never say it though to anybody, but I almost never am wrong. Um, you know, but so when it comes to reform, what and Malik, I see you're on. Peace to God. I wasn't sure about what you meant by that second question. Can you reform devil? And in degree, he says them. And then question mark. I don't know what you mean by them. You know, because it shouldn't be seen that these are different. Um, different people. Um, right? Like the definitions in the 33rd degree and the second degree are not different. The 33rd degree though is the real life degree. That to me is the most detail of what is a real devil. And it's like giving you the detail, like what really makes him a devil. It's just the other one's just telling you. You know what I'm saying? It's just telling you. Okay, give me a moment here. Oh wait. I got a magnet pad and I got to make sure it's in the right direction, or else it'll do the opposite work. Right. All right. Let me continue with the question. How come they didn't know we were here? 136. Was it the interorientation? The fear as a grown man? That's an interesting question. If we look at the slave trade, I would think that from what I've learned, the most important, one of the main reasons that they didn't know that we were over here is because they didn't necessarily know what was going to be done with the captured Africans, brethren, and sister tribes that were around, and everyone just going for themselves. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't know what would be the case there. You know what I mean? And what would happen. So I think that's one thing to take note of. Also, in the 1 to 36, you really very well may be right. They may not have known because the interorientation, the word interorientation is two people, one group communicating an idea to another group, and they're using their language that is different from this group, right? The original people that are receiving it. So, that type of communication, the interorientation, especially now if the interorientation is a not sound idea, in this case, one filled with devilishment intention and reality, uh, nah, it could cause a lot of confusion. So interorientation in general has to cause confusion because of the different language barrier, but then also the message. I got my polo indigenous shit, right? Indigenous, right? It's a lot like the indigenous cases. Like they didn't understand the concepts of ownership. A lot of the tribes, like the way that the European was expecting it or dealing with it. You know what I mean? So just like maybe in the 1900s, it would be weird for them to even for the white man to see that water was being charged in a certain way, like water bottles. You know what I mean? Although you probably wouldn't though. That's not a good example. Right? They've been on their capitalist 1-2s from the get, exploitative 1-2s from the get. But the indigenous people, not all the tribes understood ownership in the westernized framework. So that's an example. You know what I mean? Log back into this. But I think that The 1 to 36 is only a beginning clue. You know, you mentioned the fear is a grown man. That could be it as well. But that was really engaged with, you know, as the original man there, the African was taken as a slave. You know what I mean? That's when that happens. You know, so that's a little different. You know, I hope I'm answering these the completely to what you needed. Let's see. What is the difference in a degree and a lesson? There is no, all of 120 is degrees, you know what I'm saying? But they're all lessons. Um so it's really in the way that we're talking about them. You know what I'm saying? When we say degrees, it's because we're talking about, it usually would be because we're talking about specific ones. You know, the 33rd degree, but that's a lesson. So each one is a lesson. You know what I mean? Each one is a lesson, but we're talking about which degree, you know, so it's more of an identification thing than anything else. How did Elijah come to 7.5 ounces of original brain? You know, I can't say. Whenever we deal with it, we try to analyze what Elijah possibly meant by his context, by his many books. I've never seen him directly answer why he said there was 7.5 ounces of brain. However, the build that I know that my generation of gods, we all saw it this way. Um, and we were definitely getting that from older gods like Dumar, were and Knowledge Me, my enlightener. I think that the seven, we always taught that the 7.5 ounces, this whole brain weighs about 48 ounces, but the medulla oblongata, you know what I'm saying? And as we learned about melanin, the medulla oblongata is very crucial, is crucial to the production of melatonin and serotonin, right? Right? And the distribution of melanin throughout the whole body, because melanin is on all the chemicals. It's not melanin. I said melanin is in all the chemicals. Melanin is in all the organs. You know what I'm saying? All the organs, you know. T. Owens More like no Drew Pukram likened it to really the living part, you know, the living part of the cell, you know, the mind of the cell. Paraphrasing there, she did say it that way, but pretty much like that. But that 7.5 ounces could possibly, especially for its importance, could possibly be referring to the stem of the brain, you know, and that's how, you know, we always built on it, that it was the stem of the brain stem, you know, and that it was it was even like a metaphor to the concept of the brain stem of the original man having activated melanin, as opposed to the devil having a calcified, you know, the calcified pineal gland, right, which is all back there. Real crucial shit, you know. Um, how to let's see, what's the difference, or is there a difference between son of man and son of man? Son of man spelled with the S-U-N, or son of man spelled S-O-N? It's the son of man. It's always with the O, but son of man is more of an emphasis. Um, I guess a slang emphasis on that concept. You know what I mean? That we are as the son. You know, and also to the great group Sons of Man. Right? Just thought about them. But peace of my man Hellraiser. But the when we talk about son, the Bible, the etymology of the Bible, right, is son pages. So son is very crucial. You know what I mean? And we talk about son, though, it's also the, I always say the etymology of son of man goes into the rebirth of mind. Son meaning rebirth of multiplication of mind. Mind, man. You know what I mean? That son of man, that God is the son of man, has a son, that son becomes a man, and then that man has a son that becomes a man. That endless revolving of depth of the son of man, the original man, is that reality. And it's more like this than like this. It's more like this, where it gets deeper, because the son of man just goes back to learn, forward to learn, and everything is kung fu too. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing chi sao right here. You know what I mean? But Smells good. I see you. I see you, man. Raising hell with the flavor. But yeah, indeed, King. They, they're gonna chop up the word, speed up, like Kanye sample. Yeah, you know. But that's what they do. That's what they do. You know what I mean? You never learn anything from me without good context. I give a long tangent to things. I give you detail, and I think that on a class that is longer, whether a student is live taking notes or especially on the YouTube where you could go back, this will serve you well on your investigative search. The point is to see if what I'm saying is true and catapult you into studies, not really just to memorize me, and like they say, to believe this, right? You shouldn't believe anything. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying is true. You know what I mean? And we're not going to get caught up though in people acting like the word believe now all of a sudden means no to know, because it doesn't. You know what I mean? It's really sad when people try to think they can outwit me with the word game. You know what I mean? With words. It's like it's not the court you belong on. But King, you said I learned by saving myself first, and through my music and my attitude, energy. Different people of different walks of life gravitate to me. I share what I know through any genuine person. That's really the way. That's really the way, and you find your ways that are most useful, because the more as you develop in this, as you grow older, you're trying to live this life too and develop and be a self savior to self before you save others, which is the proper order. You know what I mean? And I have to say that affects all of us though, and for most 5%ers, and unfortunately I have to put myself in there as well. A lot of us thought that we had other people looking out so that we could do this work of saving others. You know what I mean? And we let things slide. And I definitely, me personally, let things slide because I'm sacrificing here and that'll be handled. You know what I mean? And it wasn't though. So you have to learn how to save self, but then consciously always be thinking, never forget. See, the constant development of the self is to always be thinking to yourself, there is a lot I'm doing right at this moment, but there are certain things I'm doing wrong, and I have to be aware of those things as well, and not just block them out. You know what I mean? Piece of self I build. King said, for the most part, you can pick up on someone being weak and wicked in mentality if you're a very discerning person, scoring to being in tune with the lessons actually lived throughout life. I see it. All right, Smells, you said saw a bumper sticker today saying she believed she could, so she did. Putting belief first instead of knowledge, like it's supposed to be. I think belief gets confused as confidence. You know what I'm saying? When we think about it in the terms of knowledge itself, we don't deal with belief, because if you were to say to yourself, I can do this, then it shouldn't be based on belief. It should be based on a confidence that you have practiced it, that you have tried it, that you must be able to do it, and that it shall be done. So that even in failure, you still would have the confidence to say, well, I went out there and I tried, and now I can see where was it that it didn't work. You know what I mean? And you'll have concrete answers. If you deal with belief and then fail, for example, your belief will not have you search for logical reasons why you weren't. It'll just be a shattered belief. You know what I mean? People say that's not true, but it really is. All right, question here from Malik, man. What is meant by all savages? What is meant by all our savages and living a jungle way life? That's second degree in the 1 to 14. When Africa has civilization. No, but it's right. If you're talking about the second degree in the 1 to 14, that isn't referring, I didn't catch that as referring to um that term savage is a person who has lost all knowledge of self and is living a beastly way of life. That's from the second degree in the 1 to 14. And that's what Musa encountered um with the white man that caused devilishment and was exiled, right? In the which is detailed in the 4th degree later on, right? Um so that's just the definition. That's not saying that this was black people, definitely not, or anything like that. It's just giving you a definition of what savage would really mean, you know. Trying to think. I guess the other degree where you could call that out that way would be the 7th degree in the 1 to 14. You know what I'm saying? Um, because to make our people believe of North America believe that the people of that continent were are the only people that they have, and that they are all savages. And then the definition comes into play. But remember, this is much later. So this is during the 1 to 36, during the transatlantic slave trade. So that's way past from the origins. That's way past from even the 2,000 years. So that's way later that Elijah's telling us, though, that we're taught that those are the only people that we have. So, so we assume that the imagery, you know what I'm saying? And when he says he brought a trading post into the jungles of that continent, by the time that that's happening, though, yeah, Africa has already been destroyed on many levels. You know what I mean? And yes, let's go into it. There is an assumption that all of Africa here too is just jungles. You know what I'm saying? Or that the idea of a tribe is not civilized. That's well and good there. And these are teachings that were taught to Black Americans, but they were also westernized. You know what I'm saying? It's a westernized angle here. So yeah, that has something to do with it. You know what I mean? All right, so that's important too. You know what I mean? So it's the time frames that we're talking about here. You know what I mean? And yes, even with the time frames more recent, I do think that Elijah Muhammad set up or took advantage of a stereotype that all of Africa, even then, 1930s, 1940s, was all savage. I don't bear witness to that. I don't bear witness that when people show pictures of African countries and they have cities and stuff, that these cities just popped up from the 80s. You know what I'm saying? This is all, these are all false assumptions. So, when we look at the degrees, like, how did our people know that we were over here? And the 1 to 36 ends with Africa not knowing that the original man was here, brought here by the trader. I don't think that we know about them as well either. So again, this goes into the thing I was saying, like, we don't know about our other original peoples, you know what I'm saying? The histories, the details, you know what I'm saying? And this is going to be, I've been saying this since the early 1910s. I mean 1910s, 2010s, right? Our nation of 5%ers, our lack of knowledge of the history of where original people come from outside of the US, their histories, their cultures, their customs, how they view things, all of that is important, and we don't know it enough. You know what I'm saying? And I have to go through it. I even went through it on my IG page. People acting like the flags of other original people are to be discredited. But there's a lot of history in some of those flags, and not a lot of history in some of those flags. But one of the great gateways to understanding other original peoples is to start with the flags. You know what I mean? But we should know, we should start to learn famous revolutionaries throughout the globe. You know what I mean? Revolutionaries from African countries, revolutionaries from South America and the Caribbean, etc., etc. We need to know these things. You know what I mean? Right? We should know about the plight of original people out there in the UK. You know what I mean? Peace to my man, Cyrus Malachi. We should know about the plight of original people out in Canada. You know what I'm saying? Peace of the gods out there. You know what I mean? This is important, right? And I think that we know this poorly. And I think that in the degree that was being manipulated, definitely the seventh degree, you know what I mean? That brought a trading post, you know, there's an assumption that they were all savage though. And that they should. You know, they don't need to be embarrassed by that. But in the current times, not all of Africa is savage, you know, and that's a misnomer. You know, it's a real misnomer. All right, question here. You know, in the chat, just let me know if there's counter questions or add-ons. You know what I mean? Um, it's believed by 85, indeed. King it said it's dope when you can get the short interpretation of long degrees or short ones in the 1 to 40. I'm giving it a shot here. Giving it a shot, right? You were referring to the seventh degree in the 1 to 14, right. And yeah, it's a good question. Because there's the insinuation to those that were being taught in the 40s, 50s, right? That out there in Africa, they're savage to this day. But remember that the imagery of Africans in all of media and movies, film, etc., in those times that he was teaching, were all depicted as savage. So I don't think that Elijah was saying that all of them were savage. I do think, though, that that wasn't really relevant, and he didn't care about making that distinct point. That wasn't important. What was important to get across to people was that you were not all savage. You know what I mean? All of your people are not savage. You know what I mean? Right? What did Elijah mean by colored? Okay. I teach this a lot though. When they call a white man the colored man, let's remember that the only color that that reflects light is white. Every single color, black being the most, absorbs light. And through that absorption of light, the amount of reflection off of it is what tells you what color it is. Excuse me. So the more it reflects, the lighter it is, right? And using the word color also means that something has been done to it, right? We're not the colored man. You know what I'm saying? Something was done to the colored man, not us. Right? All right, let me get back to this. And you said, is that a term that went out of usage? No, it was never a term that was in usage. You know, the only time that colored man gets used is to refer to us. So it is a revolutionary change of the term. You know what I'm saying? And we are not referred that way. We do not refer to ourselves that way because we know that we weren't the ones that were changed. With the ed at the end, assumes that something was done, colored. That's it's no longer a description. You see what I'm saying? Right. It's an adjective, so something was done. You know what I mean? Is it safe to say that some of the degrees are like an allegory? I think so. I think so. Over time, certainly to be seen that way, like getting the meaning of the point to be made out of it, than more than reciting. Absolutely, I don't think that Allah the Father would have taken the degrees if they didn't have that analytical usage. Right? Yeah. I think Malik. Again, you said I see that students, and I thought he was saying they were savage. It does read that way. You know what I mean? And he certainly was empowering us. I really think he was referring to the imagery of what you think, of what you, black man, that I am building with here, you were taught to think that they were all savage. Now, I don't think he went into detail. Now, Elijah was very clear. He felt that a lot of things that African tribes did, people of other original peoples, that they did savage things and that we shouldn't adopt their lifestyles just because, right? Um, his versions of civilization were very westernized. I like the suit and tie, bow tie, right? The suit and bow tie, and all that, right? So he did have a westernized way of what civilization was going to be, right? But I don't think that he was saying that they were savage and useless either. You know what I mean? Although I do think he disagreed with a lot of that lifestyle. Okay. A lot of people in the that I built with, it's not official, but people say that the white on the universal flag. I don't have my flag like this. Is not. This is silver, but that the white on the universal flag is confusion. I don't like to think of it that way. I don't want to look at white and just go, it's always has to mean something. It's just popping out. You know what I'm saying? It's just popping out. You know, if you want to say that it's popping out of the confusion, so be it. You know what I mean? So be it. You know. Peace, Mikhail. All right. Again, these classes, if you can make them or not, the key is that if you can't make them and you're watching them later, then email me. You know what I'm saying? Even the chat, I always try to make sure that the chat is still there so people could see how the discussion went, what questions were there, and if any notes, because I like to use it if it need be and use the chat as a blackboard. All right. Malik, you said wisdom and wisdom born in the proper culture by adding righteous movement to divine words and manifesting victory through that bond. I see that. I see that. I see the alphabet being merged in there too. Nice. Very nice. Let's see what else we have. Let's see. This was texted me on the 21st, so this is yesterday. God asked me, Malik asked me, you asked me, in today's degree is Yakub learning about separation, right? Who was the founder of Unlike Attract and Unlike Repel, an original man who was a scientist by the name of Yakub, born 20 miles outside of the holy city of Mecca in the year 8,400. What he did find was the concept of separation, and and I don't know if he found you'd have to say yes. It's unlike attract and unlike repel that he discovered. He didn't create, but he discovered that principle. And the way that he would manifest it is through separation. You see? So it's through that discovery that he realized that, that I don't know if it's assumed that once he discovered the unlike attract and unlike repel, that's when he realized separation would be the way. But pretty soon after, you know what I'm saying? Pretty soon after, right? Because then he would make his promise, right? Promise his nation what he would do, right? Make a devil grafted from his own people, right? And teach him how to rule, right? Teach him trick knowledge how to rule his people, right? Okay, let's see. As a child of 6 years young, would he have known the full extent of his determined idea? Now, it says he was 6 years old, and you're calling up a different degree, the later degree, today's degree actually. How old was the founder? When Yakub was 6 years old, while playing with two pieces of steel, right? He discovered that one piece had magnetic in it and one did not. He learned that the piece with magnetic attracted the piece without, right? So, right? Then he told his people that when he was old enough, he would make a nation that would graft them from his own, and he would teach them how to rule the plan for 6,000 years, right? So fairly immediately would be our assumption of when he figured this out. But what I was taught though is that it wasn't when he was 6 years old; it was when he was 33. You know what I mean? And that the six is really 33. Um, he did like an amazing thing, so you could say he understood the principle at 6 years old, which a lot of people do. Um, but I don't think that's what he said. You know, telling his people that when he was old enough. You know, but either way, though, the principle could have been discovered. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, a 6-year-old saying some shit like that is like demonic and crazy. And that's probably why when people read the degrees, they see Yakub as this evil scientist and stuff. You know what I mean? No, Malik, these are good questions. These are great questions that should be asked by the students. So, right. Malik, I think I covered everything. Um, again, just some other things. Again, if you're in, I still am teaching students on the weekend martial arts. It's going to be cold soon. So if you want to get some lessons to really get you off the way, um, if you got children, I will teach them for free. If you come yourself though, the charge is very good. It's a great rate, and it's certainly worth everything that you're getting. Um, and I only need a few sessions to get you going to really start to understand this. Um, if you want to start learning the martial arts and getting in shape, all that comes with it. Obviously, I'm not teaching a martial artist to be out of shape. You know what I mean? This is the whole point. Now, I'm also, and I do that Saturday, and I do it Saturday, Sunday, both or one of those days. So you let me know if you're in the New York City area. You know, I'll tell you where to go, and we'll do it. And all the details of that. If you just email me, I put this up on the socials. Um, my Peace Course book is coming out soon. I'm in the final stages of editing it out, getting the cover. Um, it's just a book of essays that are very heavy. They're a little deeper. There's stuff that maybe people have seen. Um, the crucial essays have never been shared, and they're old and they're still powerful. Um, they're actually essays that have become the crux of my curriculum. And if you learn with me, you know what I mean by that. But they're all there. You know what I mean? And a very useful book. I hope. I hope. All I can say, it's well written, um, and I think up to the standard that I set for myself. Um, but again, that book isn't necessary to attend this class to learn with me or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care for whatever reason though. If you're attending the class and can't really afford it and would like the book, in this case, so I will get it to you, okay? And you can, pay whatever you can, whenever you can, right? With this book, if as far as my hip hop books, that's something different, man. Nobody needs those. Those are all for the enjoyment of the culture, learning of the culture, of the music, and there's no immediacy to that. So, like, if you couldn't afford them immediately, then it is what it is. I put them on sale pretty good too. So that's not something that I would give away free because that's not really necessary. You know what I mean? You don't really need that, you know? But if you feel like you really need it, you like to get it early, you'd like to pay later, whatever it is, I got you. All right. Yeah, that's my niece upstairs making a lot of noise. Disrupting the class, thanks. But yeah, I like to get on her. She's a good kid. Um, okay, I feel like I'm missing something here. No, I'm not. I was somewhere wrong. There was all some kind of foolery I felt like addressing last week, and I just didn't get to it. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I only like to address things if they're valid and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, not if, but if there's anything that people want me to address, I'm here. Let me know. Definitely rewind for the questions here. If you have follow-up questions to the things I already shared, definitely jot them down. You know, when you're learning this knowledge, you should always have questions. You know what I'm saying? About your place in all this, about how you see all this, about what is most relevant to you. This is the first type, most important teaching where you are valid here, 100%. You know, when we're teaching the knowledge of self, even your own feelings are important because you have to learn how to discern like and dislike, and then put the like and dislike to a side. And if you're not able to do that, then you'll have problems. You know what I mean? And so acknowledging your feelings. You know, I always love one of my favorite, definitely my favorite modern philosopher. I don't see. I say favorites, and then another guy pops up. But I love Jiddu Krishnamurti. I love Thich Nhat Hanh. These are all modern philosophers still alive. But Jiddu Krishnamurti used to say that in order to let go of something, you have to first acknowledge that it's there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's important to acknowledge the feelings that you have if you feel a certain way to deal with it, you know? And also notice though, if you know, obviously you want to notice when you're dealing with certain feelings repeatedly. That's also something to take note of because then you may not be dealing with the issue completely, you know, or properly. Right? And Malik, I think that you thought right. These are questions that I'm not just answering them to you, Malik, because I really think that they're valid for the entire classroom. These are class questions that anyone going through 120 needs to be asking. You know what I'm saying? Right? Tribe called Pope. Interesting username. Peace. All right. So let's see. All right. Good, good. Show love to Malik though. He's asks us incredible questions. And again, to detail that most complex thing again, color color is seen through a reflection of light off the eye. The more light that is reflected off an object, the more lighter the color. Okay, because The lighter the color, the more light it reflects. And so more light will reflect off your eye. And that's the discernment of color. The darker, right, would reflect less, absorb more light, and reflect less. Black absorbing all light. See, so when we look at space, though, we're actually seeing something that isn't empty, but we're seeing something fully in the presence of light. You know what I mean? That is full with light. But what type of light is the presence of all light? See? And that's why I think, as a side note, these ideas of dark matter and dark energy, where they can be answered, right? But light is a specific light comes in specific levels, right? Through the colors. That's what's shooting through when we look through in space. Shooting through is specific light. You know what I mean? Right. So when we say the colored man, we're talking about someone that reflects all light. Okay, something that was done to them. Okay, so that's what that means. All right. Again, any question that anybody has about anything, just throw them out there. I'm here. I'm ready to answer questions. Build. Give me a moment. Let me get a folder of mine, my lessons. Maybe we could go through some things as we're going along here. Okay. Since it's very quiet on the digital front here, you know. And by the way, you know, when we talk about culture, we talk about the way of people live, how it develops, how things develop. You know, like quote, you know, when people say, "Oh, we don't born the degrees, we don't born 2 and 2 to 4, this and that." Culture develops over time. And see, like where we see these hip hop battles about who invented it and stuff, even though it's something that developed over time. So what is said to be this is an element, that is an element, wasn't developed those first 5 days, right? 5 parties, you know, first 1 or 2 years. The same thing goes with the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? With the way this knowledge was taught, it wasn't immediate. The complete lifestyle of saying, "What's today's degree? How do you see this, and how we go through that?" This was developed over time. You know what I'm saying? And we learn it as it's established because they realize, yo, this is the way that we're going to do it. You see? And that's what's misunderstood about certain things, especially with a teaching like the knowledge itself, where the father was teaching with a pedagogy of most useful to the individual, right? In other words, he taught to that individual, not a program. It had its set thing that they would deal. It had its set thing, right? There is a set thing that must be taught. but it is adjusted to that individual's and that individual's needs. And so there are certain jewels that become very unique and very selective to that individual. It also leads to the culture, as far as a documentarian, having some level of confusion, because then now he gets taught something that maybe he didn't get taught exactly. And he gets taught something that's different than what he gets taught. He gets taught. You know what I mean? So that's always important to take note of that. Malik, you said, how is weather in the eighth degree and the ninth degree metaphors? Um, well, because the earth is already a metaphor for the black woman, then now the weather controlling is her emotions, her realities, her nature. So that is all encompassing that her vast array of emotions and abilities. You know what I'm saying? So that becomes a very direct metaphor because it's already in there. You know, it's already in there at the root, meaning the earth, right? Um, with the ninth degree, I don't know if that's really a metaphor. You know what I'm saying? It's more of a comparison. You know, the earth is being referred in the ninth degree as cause and effect. You see thunder, but you don't really see that there is a cause to that. You know what I mean? And that's what means that they also hear thunder above their head, right? But they don't try to learn who it is that causes all this to happen, right? By letting the 5% teach them. I realize that everyone that has a journal needs to write about who they will be, not just who they are, but who they will be. You know, me and the gods, when we was training in Kung Fu, one thing that Kung Fu made very relevant is that we were activating our nature in the physical form. And that's why Kung Fu is so crucial to us. And if you look through the things that we dealt with, we did a lot of declaring of who we were and who we will be because of it. A lot of manifestos. You know what I mean? We are this, so we will be that. You know what I mean? And I think that in your early days, when you're dealing with this 120, you have to spend some time not declaring what people will respect you as. It doesn't work that way. It says, this is what I am, but this is what I will be doing. This is what I will be. I will be doing this because this doing will be the nature of how I am being. You start being a supreme being and just being a particular type of being that isn't just 100% declaring. And that's the difference between a lot of people with the knowledge that don't have it very well. They're doing a lot of declaring. They're not doing much being because there isn't much of a methodology, a mentality, an approach to how they will do, you know, just how they will compose themselves and not let others allow them not to see themselves as who they are. But that isn't what this is, you know, that's a very simple approach. King, you said in the 1 to 40 when it talks about the greatest and only flag in the universe, is that for Muslims since we have our own flag? I think it is. Obviously, we didn't write those, so it's not referring to our flag. You know what I'm saying? But when we talk about our flag, we are referring to that. You know what I mean? We see it as that. You know, I think in those days, those people that were being dealt with had to bear witness to the flag that was above them. And that's really more the lesson there. But that terminology we take, you know, yeah. Peace unique. I have a plus lesson that's very old that I have to write out and give it more detail. You know, it's really old. This based on the paper and the books that I used to use. This is probably this is probably from maybe the 2000s, 2007, 6, something like that. But the lesson was called Noblest Methodology Lesson Notes. So it's a lesson I had called the Noblest Methodology. You know, um, prove how we prove ourselves, how we prove self in our relationship to reality. Right. This reality must then be separated with truth, actual, and the illusion. Right. The fabricated Maya. I wrote Maya because Maya is illusion, Buddhist terminology. There's a lot of stuff here I have to go through because I could really extend this, you know, really extend this. Ah, yeah. So I'm gonna take the time here. I have a thing called math and alphabet questions, just general questions. Could make that into a plus lesson. I taught this a couple of weeks ago. The 3 perfect principles. That's a plus lesson I used to teach. I got to put that in a proper, nice form. So if anybody has any questions about anything, I'm just looking through this though to see if there's anything. You know, I haven't taught health this year. I'd like to know how people have done with their health protocols. If they like any questions about that, you know, I charge you to teach you martial arts though, and that comes with, you know, whether if you want it or not. You know, it comes with my health protocols, but my health protocols are not something I charge for. So if anybody wants any advice about that, you know, I'm here for that. Should we constantly learn how to teach 85 or what and when to build? I don't think that you ever stop learning how to do that. And I think every now and then when you make a mistake and overteach or anything like that, that's good. It means that you haven't lost your zest for it. Um, and it also, you know, it's always good to get a good humbling. Um, I know this because look at my percentage. I must be failing often. I teach all the time, and not everyone becomes in this nation. So, you know, that's what happens. Um, but I think that when you're learning this knowledge and you're really trying to learn it and apply it to your reality, I don't think that's the first thing that you dive into. You know what I'm saying? That was my journey. where I was dove right into it. I mean, I had it for 1 year, and I was thrust into the school to teach, and not needless to say, that changed my life though. And there are great difficulties I've had that few people can ever have experienced, because no one has done what I did in that regard. You know what I mean? In this way. So I had different challenges than anyone else. And I would say to the average person, it's never about how many people you teach. That's why you don't see me say, I taught this person that. And you don't see me going, that's my brown seed, my black seed, my yellow seed. I never refer to people like that. If I taught them, they aren't all of a sudden, like, it sounds like property to me, mental property. Um, I don't, I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Um, so, whether you ask me how to teach the 85, it's more like we're always learning how to share. That's why in the progress quest, not, excuse me, the build awareness square, the BAT plus lesson I give out, the fifth thing I put on to be aware of ends up being share. How Be aware of how you share. And that's so important, because we we want to share our nature, we want to share who we are, but we also are protecting ourselves. But we also want to share things that are useful. You could share the truth that will eventually, someone will eventually get there. Share it too fast, and it could drown them. You know what I mean? If you share it just right, they'll inquire. So there's levels to this. But if you just try to share, I would share immediate. What I mean by that, though, is like, always ask yourself, what does this person immediately need? And ask yourself, even before that, do I even know what this person needs? Or, like, the assumption of not of us having the knowledge all the time is also a predicament. That isn't always true. Sometimes we don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? Jarrell, you said a question I had: how to view Buddhism through the perspective of a true living God. As I've been reading quite a bit of Thich Nhat Hanh. Nothing wrong with reading Thich Nhat Hanh. Let me tell you my favorite book. I read this once a year. The Heart of Understanding, because I think the Heart Sutra is a beautiful sutra. It's very short, but the Thich Nhat Hanh's building of it is very profound, and I think that there's nothing wrong with really learning about Buddhism and the nature of it, um, because there are many principles of living, that are very useful and not mysterious. So I think that the perspective of God's studying Buddhist literature is great. Being Buddhist is a different thing though, because then you don't really bear witness to anything being true and living. You know, and so that's a mystery in and of itself. Like, you yeah. So Thich Nhat Hanh is a great place to start. You know, remember, these are all ancient. Buddhism is really just, when you study Buddhism too, go to the ancient text first. Thich Nhat Hanh is dope, but always study the ancient text first, and then study the translators that really give good footnotes. Like Thomas Cleary, he gives great footnotes. You know what I mean? In his ancient Asian literature, from the Taoist literature, Buddhist literature, etc., etc. He gives you good history, allows you to give yourself a context in what's being taught. But Malik, you said, do you feel ostracized in your immediate family and your universal family for being God and being scholarly? I gotta keep it real with you. I used to always feel ostracized. I think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I am polarizing. because I'm doing something very different. This is a young nation. You know what I'm saying? And in the streets where this knowledge was, Boricua brothers was with this knowledge. You know what I mean? But they didn't necessarily teach it to everyone. It didn't spread as much. And the cliches, especially when once music was recorded and the 5%ers became famous through music, hip hop music, we weren't in there. We wouldn't have been in there anyway because the industry was not letting Puerto Ricans rap. That's a fact. That's an actual fact. You know what I'm saying? That's an actual fact. Did anybody ever wonder? Like, you ever wonder, like, how there's no Puerto Rican rappers, and then all of a sudden a pun comes out? So there's no average rappers. There's very few average Puerto Rican rappers, minimal things like that. And he said, wait a minute, but Fat Joe is kind of average, and but then you go into Fat Joe's history and you realize how much he had to do and how many connections he had to have for him to even get a record deal that they didn't want to give him. So I think that by the time I get knowledge, and this knowledge itself is worldwide, popular, famous, exotic. You know what I mean? Let me get some water. I haven't drank water in a while. Exotic, all of that. I think that it put me in a different situation. Um, Pretty much everything I've done in my life, I've been ostracized or the anomaly in it. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's not because of Puerto Ricans, this and that. It's because we weren't allowed to be in it. I think as I get older, and this is gonna sound super egotistical, but as I become older and I become better or at the top of my field, that ostracizes me more than who I came in as. You know what I mean? Um, and if you know my field, then you know what I'm talking about. But with family, I think it's always the same. This is something that wasn't really advocated, and it's just foreign. They don't understand it. They never heard about it. Um, it seems like a giant sacrifice. I was always okay with doing stuff that other people weren't doing, though. You know, and it's funny because I really listen to MCs. Like, even though they all seem to be doing cool things, which are similar, they were also always talking about the great MCs like Guru or KRS or Rakim. We're always talking about being yourself, being original. You know, Q-Tip, all these guys. I'm just thinking off the head, people. They always talked about being unique. That it's okay though, not to be uh, an insincere unique. You know, like where you're just trying to be different. You know what I mean? Which after music and art sells a lot, though, people, that's what people try to do. You know, but really being unique. You know, right? Like the great Ace. You know, Asan Unique. Wow. You know what a name, right? Who's more unique than that? And he's a good example because you see how it was so natural. You know, he was naturally that way. But as he becomes more of a career, it seems more that he has to be that way. You know, so even things that aren't that he could just do like other people, it's almost like he's not allowed to. You know, but I don't say at this age. I don't think I'm ostracized from family. Um, I just think that a lot of things that I do, people can't do them. You know, but when you do stuff, and this is all revolution, when you do stuff that other people aren't doing, people think you're doing it alone. But a lot of times revolution is not a lot of the time, nearly all the time. Revolution is the people that can't do what you're doing and do, you know, whatever the country, the oppressor, whatever is telling them to do. But they're supporting you. You know, like I couldn't do a lot of things without the support of my family. You know what I mean? I absolutely couldn't do a lot of things without the support of my family, because a lot of the things that I do take a lot of sacrifice. There are a lot of things I won't do. You know, like through this whole time, there's so many career opportunities I couldn't take. Uh, in this case, because I was, they were taken away from me because I wouldn't get vaccinated, and still having won't do it. Um, and only more research comes out that it was wrong and it was the wrong thing to do, right? But you're after a while, the right, I would say the righteousness or the usefulness, not, I don't want to use righteousness because it sounds pompous, but the usefulness of my deeds have shown um, that it was deserving of that sacrifice. You know what I mean? Right? And that what I was doing wasn't just you know, so yeah, in other words, you have to prove yourself. You know what I mean? No one in my family looks at me like hip hop is a fad that I'm doing, because I do it so well. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I have things to, you know, things to prove it. You know, like I come from a family that you can't find any relative that has ever even published an article. You know what I mean? And I've published articles, books, magazines, and newspapers. You know what I mean? Right? So it's different. You know, people, you know, they have to respect it over time. And as a young god, that's the struggle you have to deal with. And that's what I say: build up yourself first, because you will have to if you want to sacrifice. You know what I mean? You want to I have chosen a tougher life. I have sacrificed many things. I have sacrificed thousands of dollars to do what I do. You know what I mean? And I if you want to put yourself in a position of sacrifice or compromise, you have to be either ready to go through the hell or very prepared. If you, you know, so as a young god, study yourself, study what you're doing, um, prepare yourself so that you could make these sacrifices, and it won't be so much hell you won't go through. You know, I felt like a lot of the stuff I was doing was so new that I have to go through these sacrifices. You know what I mean? Um, Now I have a support system, but I sacrificed a lot with faulty ones. You know, because not everybody that I thought was family was family. You know what I mean? Right? If you know me, you know who we're talking about. You know, but that comes with a lot of loss too. You know what I mean? When you pick you pick family incorrectly too. You know? Right? That's peace, Jarrell. I hope I answered that question. You know, Malik always with the uh, the intimate question. You know what I mean? But I don't mind though. I don't mind. King, you said, or is the flag in the ninth degree of the 1 to 14 about a Shriner flag? Most likely a Shriner flag. It can't be about our flag. The shit was written before it was made. You know what I mean? You know? But I always saw the ninth and 10th degrees about options that societies of original people can take when dealing with the devil, right? And so it doesn't matter. It could be any type of flag. I think that's the ultimate lesson I get, though. The flag that is representing original people at that moment and have the power. So it literally, in many respects, could be those, let's say, African countries that were being raided and things like that. We know that they all took their own choices and they didn't all work out. You know what I'm saying? Oh wow, you can actually see that flag. That's my Power Right Show logo. That was made for me by my brother Supreme Sniper out in Sunset Park. Um, so the white um is not I didn't go over the white. Obviously, this is silver, so it just has black. So it's because of the type of metal. It's a basic thing. you know, right? But the flag there, the white is not whited out. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's not, you know, it's not. Yeah, that would be crazy. You know what's funny? I didn't realize that, but I've been on 15 songs already that have been released already. So, well, I'm gonna be 15 because I think next week Jux Diamonds comes out with his album and I'm on it. I didn't realize it was that much, you know what I mean? Like it's a lot, you know. So, you know what? I'll give you guys an exclusive since you said that. I'm gonna play that Jux Diamonds song. You didn't hear that Jux Diamonds song? I did. It's Jux Diamonds' new album coming out next week called Jux Diamonds, Jewels, Unbreakable, Excellent, Exclusive Diamonds, and I'm on the song with Waze P. You know, I'll let you hear it for a minute though. Yeah, yo, sir, yo, yo, yo. I punish MCs, set the mics on fire. Rip the tongue out MCs with some dirty pliers. Strangle whack MCs with a telephone wire. I complete all the tasks, hitman for hire. I cause havoc if the miss when my mob's deep. You can't rumble wolves when you play the role of sheep. Always be your boy, if not, rock your ass to sleep. It's dark and hell is hot. DMX, I'm on the creek. Catch a nigga lurking to his head. Rude boy from a cloud went through his dreads. He say, she say, don't give a fuck what's said. You be Steven Seagal, you be marked for dead. Hands down, I'm the best, no arguments here. Nightmare on my street, I'm what Freddy fears. I'm the truth from my mouth, right to God's ear. I cause pain and inflict damage in all careers. Drama, you don't want it. Let me say it again, you don't want it. A lot of y'all not built for this. I got you stuck on the real, I'm so infamous. Drama, you don't want it. Let me say it again, you don't want it. A lot of y'all not built for this. I got you stuck on the real, I'm so infamous.
I got you stuck, now fuck it, you can get stuck up. Run you out of your jewels, kill a mic when I run up. Plus I kill mics from nighttime till the sun up. Or maybe like that boy from the south that gave out his number. Except I'm shouting numbers on the coat, slippery slope. Or maybe just the numbers that you gon' pay for the hoe. How you the best when Wise P is up next? Multiple chains swinging on my neck, make all on the vest. If Chooks is diamonds, I'm Wise Ice, Wise Rose Gold, Wise Rolex, Wise ruin your life with one flow. My bracelet so big, nigga with just one glow. I take your little bum ass bitch, I return it tomorrow. I'm so juvenile, all I want's to let the money pile. Let her back that thing up, hit it raw, I'm super foul. Throw in the towel, it's over. Big championship belt over my shoulder. Stones in the chain, the size of boulders. Pimp. Drama, you don't want it. Let me say it again, you don't want it. A lot of y'all not built for this. I got you stuck on the real, I'm so infamous. Drama, you don't want it. Let me say it again, you don't want it. A lot of y'all not built for this. I got you stuck on the real, I'm so infamous.
That pressure of yesterday to today's price, from the banning of diamonds supplied the rest into demand. The proper jukes flooded the streets with jewels. I learned no one invests in the towns of integrity unless it's wrapped by the foils of gold. A stricken for babies try to see rainbows after blood pours. It's just Sunez Allah, the poor righteous teacher. Softly fights that beat you. Concentrated supremacy. Morals, hands, feet, weapons, and meal plans. Carrying our beans while everybody else is trucking savage. Night-night signs for the deaf, dumb, and blind. Letters clumping from in my mind, pulsing at the rate of RZA's baseline thump. After the smoke is clear, today's revolutions are heinous Schwab resets, and millennial woke word battles ain't rebellion, but paltry bougie disputes. Transreal, the transhuman, it's all transportation with cruel fuel. Peace, almighty. It's really time for more jewels. Another Jux.
crazy, right? Trying to put that verse in there. I don't know why it's a. Okay. But hold on, one last paste here. That should be the end of it. Yeah, man. Good brother Jugs Diamonds, you know what I mean? And he just asked me to be on it. I didn't know I was gonna be on a song with Ways P like that. I just was asked to just throw some words up, you know what I mean? Um yeah, man. That's Peace Drill. Yeah, yeah. I appreciate that, Malik. Yeah. You know? It's I definitely, I definitely have fun with those. People ask me to be on a song. It's a big sign of respect, because I'm not an MC by any stretch of the means. So, still not King. You know what I mean? I'm not an MC. Um, but I put some words together. You know what I mean? But yeah, maybe a mixtape would be good because it end up being a lot. I'm on. Yeah, right now it's 15 songs. It's quite a bit. Yeah, man. Nobody heard it before. That song hasn't come out yet. That comes out probably next week. There's a brother named Jux Diamonds. I'll write his name in here so you could look for him because he's very dope. Very very hardcore. You know what I mean? When I write, I don't. I've always written. I've never really written things on beat or in a musical melody. So I'm learning more and more how to speak the way I want to speak on it and have that same tone. And you know what? It's allowed me to be a better hip hop journalist actually, because I know the experience of making a song, making music, you know, um, and taking it through that full creation stage though, you know, embeds you, it shows you in a different way. So, and whenever I'm on somebody's track, it's always about something. I don't really. I always have a theme. I always have something. I always try to um, actually be songwriting. You know what I mean? Not just kicking me, because that's gonna come out anyway. That's gonna come out anyway. So there's no need for that. in that light, fluffy form called flow. I do it, yeah, the best as we can, as best as we can. You know, um, I never wanted to be an MC by any stretch because I've always been around the best. You know what I'm saying? The very, very best. You know what I'm saying? Like my first interviews were with legends, and all these people, Ice T, KRS, Killer Priest, Cool G Rap. You know what I mean? These are the people that I was building with and interviewing, and they didn't even let me do half of the people I wanted to do when I was at these magazines. But when I did, I really, saw these as the greats, and there's so many great MCs out there that deserve that shine, that are really poets, have deep thoughts, you know, and a lot of the stuff that they share is profound, So the culture, whatever we say it is in great hands. You know what I mean? Yeah, Deepak. You know what? I'm gonna give you interesting thoughts on Deepak Chopra. You know what I mean? I mess with a lot of his books. I like his ideas. I like where he takes them. Um, I wish I could. Let me see if I'm here at home, so I can find my books. I have all my books here. Let's see. There are books that are great, like whatchamacallit. I'm looking for the name. Seven Laws of Success, obviously, but he has a lot of interesting books. Quantum Healing. You know what I mean? There was one book though where I was a little disappointed in him. Let's see what book that is. The Future of God. You know, and then I realized, wait a minute, this is what led me to read Richard Dawkins, because a lot of this book is really just retorting back and finding error in Richard Dawkins books. Particularly, which one was it? What was a book that he was? The God Delusion. You know what I mean? And I don't agree with everything that Richard Dawkins says, but more so because sometimes I find his mentality too Euro, too westernized, and it just a lot of times they fall into racism just because just the way they speak. But Richard Dawkins is really anti-religion, so sometimes he's very enjoyable to read. um Deepak Chopra though disappointed me with The Future of God though, because he kept saying that like there is a God, and like he was getting all mysterious and stuff, and it wasn't to the level of usefulness that his other books are, because it got too mysterious, and he didn't really counter the God delusion very well like he thought he did. You know what I mean? Or maybe people thought he did. I didn't really look at what people thought about the book. I only know what I thought about the books. But I had to go into Richard. I figured I'd read Richard Dawkins because he's talking about Richard Dawkins' book. I go read Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins is a great author, though. You know, you learn a lot with him, though. So, you know, if you're looking to read books that aren't by racist authors, you're not going to read everything. You're going to read you're going to miss out on a lot of important books. You know, you have to learn how to extract things out of the books. You know what I mean? There are books that you're going to love. You're going to love the people that write them. But there's things that authors will do that you disagree with that still are useful. Um, Neil deGrasse Tyson, to me, talks about everything as if Europeans created everything. But if you don't like his historical foundation approach, um, to and it bothers you so much that you can't read his books, there's a lot of things that you won't be learning. And why do I mention him? Because he's a great beginner book. He really details things where you could learn it well. And even if you know what he's speaking on very well, um, reading books like uh, Neil deGrasse Tyson's books are great in teaching you how to be a teacher. Sometimes reading a beginner book or a book designed for the layperson, deliberately for the layperson, teaches you how to teach certain things. Right? So they're not always just to say, I'm reading this book to learn things, but sometimes learning how to teach it. You know, but Deepak Chopra books I find very interesting. I have a lot of them. Again, my collection is never small. I have 33 Chopra books. Um, I haven't read all of them. I think I've only read like 2 or 3. But and again, just to give context though, because they're like, oh, as soon as you're not getting nowhere. I'm gonna tell you how many books I have in my digital collection. Right? But just in case, you know, the troll and stuff. It's crazy. You know? It's counting now. Wow. Okay. I thought I had 4,000. I have over 5,800 over 5,800 books. Let's round it off. You know. Yeah. So it's a lot of books. You know what I mean? The Art of Worldly Wisdom by Balthazar Gracian. Yeah, that's a great book. You know what I mean? That's a great book. You know, one of the great jewels he had, if I could remember correctly, was that you have to spend a third of your life studying the past, a third of your life living, and a third of your life creating something. And I just love this idea. I don't think it works. People take that to mean like, I'm going to while out here, I'm going to learn the past, then while out, do me, and then jot it down. No, I think that our lives are like that in a revolving kind of sense. You know what I'm saying? But those 3 things are so important. He has a lot of jewels. By the way, you know, no, I love the Jizza, but he read Art of Worldly Wisdom, and a lot of his lines come from there. In my favorite song, Breaker Breaker, of his, and that's not the best Jizza song, but it's the most impactful in my life. Um, I'll put that note on the sign. I'll tell you later. But when he says the immortality is the measure of others' torture, Genius.com has it here, but I knew this before because I actually read that book and I was like, wow, it's from The Art of Worldly Wisdom. And it's just had to use it because it's such a fucking dope line. The immortality of my fame is the measure of others' torture. That's like a fancy way of saying the vapors. You know what I mean? Like my fame is so, you know, legendary that it is the measure of others' torture. You know, burnt offer from a flaming author. It just was something else. But that line that really, when I got knowledge of self, I felt like everything that I wrote was useless, wrong, and also fueled by a mystery god that doesn't exist. So I was like, I got to stop writing. I don't know when I'll write again. And then I got this album. And when he said the significance was not the vulgar applause of interest, but that feeling, that exit, completion of a sentence, I was like, I just got to keep writing. And that's why the journal is so important to me. You know what I'm saying? writing a journal, is so important to me. Um, I this is number 60, 69. And I spent years without writing, but 69 every year for the last 3 years I've written more consistently, and I have averaged 1,000 pages a year. You know what I mean? 1,000 pages. How do I do that? 20 pages a week. 20 pages a week. This week I already fulfilled my obligation. So if there's something else I want to write in the journal, it's just extra. You know, but I have to get those 1,000 pages. And a lot of times, look, say how you do things. A lot of times, these pages are being done while I'm watching baseball, watching the Mets. You know what I mean? A lot of times when you're watching on TV or your laptop, you could rewind these games. If you miss, a hit or something, you could just rewind and see it again. You know, get that stuff in. Students, I teach them forms and stuff. Watch TV, do your forms. You don't lift enough weights, get the weights. Start doing some bicep curls while you watch TV. You know what I mean? Right? But it's real, right? Yeah, Malik, I could. Let me see. I read it a long time ago. I have a physical copy of it, so I don't know if I have. Let's see. Pretty sure I have it digitally. Should have it. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. But yeah, because when I had this book was suggested to me by Saving Knowledge, and that's why I knew about it. You know what I mean? And then I realized that Jizza had to have read it, and that just impressed me more that Jizza had read that book. You know, but it's definitely a useful book. Yep, culture is one's life way of life practice, like you said. It's developed over time, man, over time. You know what I mean? See, the reason that you mean I this wasn't going to make me the creative writer I wanted to be. I already knew it was in there. It had to be in there. The reason that you write so much, though, when you do your craft, though, is that I wanted to be able to say everything I wanted to say when I needed to say it. And part of that is being able to knowledge and actually have it there. And this repetitive action is in there. A lot of times I'm writing down, most of the work in here is writing about books I read and writing whole portions of those parts of those books that were crucial to me inside of this book again, and writing it all over again inside here, and then commenting on it in detail to the best of how I'm sparked. You know what I mean? I write about my training. I write about how I'm teaching and what I'm sharing. I write about what I think. I write about my likes and dislikes, how I'm dealing with that, all of that. You know what I mean? Everything is in here. You know what I'm saying? And I learned more about myself that way. You know? Yeah, definitely read that book. It's a good book. Very powerful. Very well written. Very insightful. You know? But yeah, most people don't talk about that book nowadays. But if anybody wants that book, I got it. I got it for you. By the way, this big digital collection of books I had, this library, um, for any of my students that I teach seriously, um, I gladly would share this library to you. You know what I mean? Literally, all you have to do is just, you know, contact me, and and send me the a flash drive that is big enough, you know, and then we could do it. Yeah, because what you would, yeah, you definitely, yeah, definitely would need a 50 gig drive for me to share with you my library. All right. To find fault within self is pure loveliness. Most break the mirror that reminds them of their ugliness. Yeah, Jizza had the lines on that song, man. He was just amazing. And these 7 yeah, hit me up. You know, yeah, Jizza. If people read my work and stuff like that, his way of writing, very concentrated, half short, twice strong, um, that has impacted me forever. You know what I mean? Like he's a huge influence on my writing. You know what I mean? And RZA and Jizza, really. I mean, you know, Ghost and Ray too, though. The way that they write, oh man, you know. All right, so unless there are any questions, it's been a busy time. I've been here since I said I'd give you all 2 hours and stuff. I'm probably gonna get off here and just get some work done. Um, but and I want this to be useful. Um, so anybody that's building with me, know that this is just the beginning. You know, if you haven't emailed me, you're not learning with me the way you really could be. It may be the way you should be, if that's because you decide. But the way you could be is is more profound, more deeper, and more stuff. You know, fitted to you. You know, so when you build with me offline, there's more. You know what I'm saying? Like people see me answer Malik's questions in the class, but me and Malik go back and forth a lot. And so there are things that I share with him that isn't for anybody else. You know what I mean? And the same with King and others. So do that. You know what I'm saying? If you want to learn, you know, where does Rakim rank? You know, my brother was asking me because When I was a kid, and again, you could see my influences. When you hear me speak, I speak very articulate. I enunciate. KRS-One was a hero. You know what I'm saying? And he was my favorite. Um, when I was a kid, it was KRS and Guru, and Rakim just he blew me away. But as far as the persona of how I was going to interact and do things, it was always KRS-One. And when I talk about goats and stuff and ranking, I don't really rank MCs. I don't like doing that. It's all art, you know what I'm saying? So it's when you get into the nuance of 1, 2, 3. I let my man Max Low do that because I don't like doing that. But like for example, a guy like Jizza, if you rank all of the qualities of an MC, there's a lot of levels that he ranks very low on, and yet he's one of the greatest of all time, easily. So because he ranks so high on the things he's good at, the things he's great at, lyricism, the word choices, his voice, they rank so high that it doesn't matter if he doesn't have the charisma to make a more poppy song, or that if he doesn't have that charismatic, stylistic, dexterity or stuff. But then there are other guys that rank high on everything, like Pharoah Monch. You know what I'm saying? Right? So it all depends. But to me, there are absolute GOAT candidates, and that's because they have classic albums, they have a long career, but they also pioneer stuff. And Rakim and KRS-One are absolute GOAT candidates to me, like Coogee Rap too. But where I rank Rakim though is usually either 1 or 2 with KRS. Like it goes back and forth because I think that what KRS did is rank on all categories the highest and pioneer shit. A lot of songwriting, the ability to make songwriting into concepts and all that. Even before Ice Cube was KRS-One, to make them either I want to use the word gimmicks, but I don't mean it like in a negative way. I mean it like in styles like using a particular rhyme scheme or something like that. KRS-One did that. He had topical songs about stuff. He had battle rap songs that had certain that augmented his persona. So even those were song written as crucial. So, and then a complete album about stuff that has an overarching theme. Nobody did this, whereas he did it overtly. Rakim was developing a character and a theme by naturally being the god. And I find that Rakim's content of the knowledge itself is the most important subject. And Rakim's rhyme schemes, internal rhyming and slowing the rhyme, emphasizing the voice as an instrument. These are, the music sucks. It really sucks without him doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it really sucks. It wouldn't be such a lyrical music without that. So like both of them combined are so crucial. But depending on where I'm at in the spectrum of that day is where I put 1/2, KRS over Rakim or vice versa. But that's how I see Rakim. I think he's either your number 1 or number 2. And just to throw it out there, because I love doing that. Anybody that has Jay-Z as a 1 or 2 though is that's baby ranks. That's kid ranks. It's kid ranks. You didn't think that one through. They named students back in the day because they were ingraining them to the culture. They wanted to make sure that they stayed with the culture. That doesn't go with anything that I do because I don't force anybody to do anything if they want to do. You know what I mean? So I would never make a name for somebody. You know what I mean? Right? I mean, it's not like any kid in the class needed a name. Like nobody ever came to my class and say, "Hey, my name is Yakub." Then I'll be like, you know what? Could you hold this name while I teach you? Nobody's name was Yakub. You know what I mean? Like, there's no Spanish kid that came in and said, "My name is Diablo." You know what I mean? Like, So it's fine. You know what I mean? Right. But some elders still do that kind of shit, but I don't. I never do that. I never was gonna do that, and I never did. You know what I mean? Original man and original black man. I when you say original man and then sometimes say original black man, it's all the same. But sometimes you need to emphasize. You know what I'm saying? Because some people don't know why they're original. When you see brothers like me that are not, they don't know. Like, I'm a black man. That encompasses me, the black diaspora. You know what I mean? So that's why these distinctions are made. Yeah, Jizz and Mantra. You know, I mean, there's a lot of guys from the '90s onward that are GOAT candidates. Like if somebody said they're GOAT, I'd like to hear the argument. You know, Pharoah Monch, Black Thought. I take Jizz as a GOAT. If you want to say Jizz is GOAT, I take Ghost and even Raekwon as a GOAT argument. I'll take um who are we talking about here? I said Black Thought, you know. Nas, of course. Man, shit, I don't know why it's so late on that. I'll never take Jay-Z as a GOAT candidate. Um, he diluted the musically, you know. But at the same time, though, his content is so limited. You know what I'm saying? Like he never had content about any other deeper issues, and when he did, the stand is hypocritical. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, never. You know what I mean? If people say Pun is a GOAT, it would be the same argument I give to Lauryn Hill. I don't think that they have enough stuff. Same argument I wouldn't give to Biggie because Biggie is not a GOAT because he's missing so many things as far as content. I don't know why content doesn't get thrown in here. Tupac gets GOAT candidacy because he has so many things he did nobody else did, but he actually has wide ranging content. So much so that lots of people like to spend time calling him a hypocrite because they don't understand the diversity of his content. But Biggie did not have that, and he didn't have awareness of any kind of issues or anything like that on any level that was past anything else. You know what I mean? My brother Quati's been a minute, all right. But as far as talent though, Pun was ahead of a lot of people. You know, Eminem is never in my GOAT candidacy at all. Never. I don't think he's a GOAT candidate either. Um, People talk about like he uses a lot of words. He puts words together and jumbles them. But I haven't even named. There's a whole bunch of MCs that are very lyrical and very complex. There's Chino Excel. There's Freestyle Fellowship. There's Souls of Mischief. You know, there's so many great MCs that have great catalogs that people don't see as GOAT, but they have really long and incredible catalogs, like Del the Funky Homo Sapien. You know what I mean? Really a great catalog, like a long catalog. There's other people that are so unique in a zany, funny way that are more profound than him, that are way above Eminem, like Kool Keith. Why would I mention that? Like, why would I put Eminem there? You know? And plus, Eminem has a lot of bad albums. So if we go on the level of classics, you're not a GOAT candidate if you only have like one classic album. It's just Rakim has at least 4. All the Eric B and Rakim albums are classic. They're arguably classic. The first 2 are classics of classics. Like they're at the top of the classic list, right? Guys that we don't mention, like Guru, have classic albums, you know, and and I think Guru was where he lacks in the technical, he gains in the songwriting, and he knew how to make a song, like, and the perfect voice. You know? There's other MCs that are massively consistent. That's why I don't like GOAT stuff, because sometimes they're not GOATs, but they're so consistently great. They get overridden if you're gonna have a list this big. You know, like Sadat X. What a catalog! What a catalog! You know what I mean? Right? If you just take them on their persona and think it's just funny, then you may not see that if they don't have the serious content, which is, you might leave out Sean Price. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of guys you could leave out. You know what I mean? That's why I don't really like the rankings. I don't like the listings. I don't like all that stuff. You know, I don't like all this stuff. You know, you leave out who's great. You know what I'm saying? And then with today, there's so many great MCs. Um, it's unfair to keep saying who's the best right now, who's the best this, that. It's unfair. You know. Again, another great example, Smith and Wesson. You know what I mean? A great catalog. You know, we rank stuff and it loses the sight of that. You know what I'm saying? The only reason that we need to say who's GOAT, who's the greatest of all time, is to give a benchmark. you know, so that's important, right? And over time, with so many MCs, where does Doom rank? Who is exceptional, influential, mind blowing? Where does then great MCs that are lyrical that people don't always know about? Bronze Nazareth, you know what I mean? You know, Ka, who just released 2 albums, is amazing, amazing stuff. Yo, if you don't like Ka, I don't think he's amazing though, right? On his new album, listen to this song. I'm gonna tell you the name of it. He has 2 new albums out, but on Languish Arts, listen to "Forgive Me." That's just wow, you know, wow, you know. So it's hard to rank. I don't like ranking. I never did. That's why if you buy my books and stuff, you don't see ranks and things like that. Even when I list things, that's just to help you dig into the music easier. You know, I would hope that your addictions spread out. You know what I'm saying? Because mind you, um, I don't listen to a small collection. You know what I'm saying? Like just this year alone, I have over 300 albums. So I'm not stuck on one person. You know? And then look at the future, right? Where will the Umbrella Collective with all their MCs making incredible music this year? Something you haven't seen since Wu Tang, where there's at least 5 guys that are up there for MC of the year. And we should know about them because some of them are our brothers, like Substance 810 and Allah Preem. Those are the gods. That's the gods, They're our brothers. And just to know, some of you that are learning with me, they're in your tree. You know what I'm saying? They're in your tree, you know? So, that's important too. But yeah, there's no way that Rakim is not absolute GOAT candidate, you know. Quatis. Yeah, Quatis. I'm trying to get out of here. They start asking about hip hop, and then you throw the deep build. Wisdom, all being born in culture, the experimentation, wisdom of ideas, the experimentation of ideas of how to do things. The application wisdom of learn lessons becomes the pillars of interaction with self and the outside world. Profound, profound. This is, never forget that. Never forget that. That is a core understanding of the God right there. That's a core understanding though. That's one that I would not forget. You know, right? Like Gandhi said, right? Experiments with truth, right? Excellent, excellent. I'm not sure if he's down with Stetzer or Grave Diggers. I think he's just a solo entity. You know, yeah. But I don't know for sure. I just know I haven't heard about that. So All right. Yeah. You know what though, Quatis? Email me so we could build. You know what I'm saying? Email me so we could build. You know, right? Because I was just about to get off and everything like that. You know what I mean? Um. So yeah. Let me know. Let me know. All right. All right. So I'm gonna let everybody go. I wanted to give you 2 hours at least though building. Again, for those that don't know, all year I've been dealing with a serious illness with my family member, my father. And that's why I'm not always at the school. You know what I mean? I'm adjusting to that, helping to take care of him, and whatever responsibilities are needed of me. You know, so it's been hard to go to the school. If I had tried to go to a law school, I would have gotten there too late, and certainly for the things I have to do Friday, I would have been too late for. You know, so that's why that's really the reason. So, but email me because I get back to you. In fact, I know I have emails that I gotta get to. All right. So with that said, Quatis, everybody, email me so we could build. All right. Peace.